Hi everyone, and welcome to this special edition of my favorite things regular video series. So in this video, I'm doing a roundup of my top 10 favorite things from 2022, as well as my top 10 favorite books from the year. Some of these I've shared before, some I haven't, but this is essentially a roundup of my very top recommendations, bookish and otherwise, from the year. So I hope that you enjoy them. So first up, I'm going to share my top favorite things from 2022. And I think one of my very top favorites is LK Borrowed, which is the rental clothing service of LK Bennett. LK Bennett is a British-based clothing company. They do amazing clothes that I love, especially their dresses. They're really gorgeous, but they are really expensive. So for me, a much more affordable as well as sustainable option is to subscribe to LK Borrowed. So I pay a monthly subscription and I get to borrow or rent dresses each month, and I can keep them for as long as I want before returning them. I do like being able to wear a variety of different clothes because I film so much, I take a lot of photos, and it's nice to have a wide range of things to wear. But I couldn't possibly afford to buy all of these clothes myself, and using something like LK Borrowed has been a huge highlight of the year for me, and it really solved a problem for me as well. And it makes me able to showcase a lot more different clothing than I would normally be able to. So that's been great for me. And a lot of the dresses I've worn as everyday dresses in my videos, but I've also worn them for real special occasions. I took LK Borrowed dresses to Croatia with me when I went on holiday there in September. I took the dresses to London when I had a holiday in London over the summer as well. I chose LK Borrowed dresses for my Persephone event when I spoke at Persephone Books at the beginning of December. So it was really great for me to be able to have some beautiful dresses to wear for these special occasions. And I really don't mind that I don't keep them, that I return them, because I'm just grateful for the opportunity of wearing them. And it's also great to be able to change up my clothing. So I actually love that I get to send them back and choose new ones, and the dry cleaning and all of that is taken care of as well. So I'm just a genuine fan of LK Borrowed. I haven't worked with them or anything like that, but I just wanted to tell you about them, and it's been such a highlight of my year and something that I'm definitely continuing into 2023. My next favorite thing is my Serious Light from Serious Readers. Serious Readers are very kindly sponsoring this video, but even if they weren't, I would definitely still be listing my Serious Light as one of my top 10 favorite things from 2022, because this light has honestly made such a difference to my life. I'm obviously a huge reader, and it's so important to me to have a great reading light. And I've been using this light daily since I first collaborated with Serious Readers last November, and I was sent this light by them. I've been using it every day since then, and it's made such an amazing difference to my levels of comfort and my reading life. So Serious Readers are a British-based company who create amazing high-quality lights. This light is from their Serious Light range. It's the high definition cordless floor model. I love it because I can pick it up and carry it around with me to wherever I want to sit with a book and read. What makes Serious Light special as well is that they have daylight wavelength technology, which replicates daylight as closely as possible. I love this because it feels like I'm reading in natural light, or as close to natural light as you can get, which is really a very big reason as to why I love my Serious Light so much. I also really like that I can adjust the width of the beam of the light, and I can adjust the intensity of the light as well. So I can get just the perfect amount of light for me, which is wonderful. But like I said, this light has made a really big difference to my life, and I've been enthusing about it to friends and to family, and I inspired my dad actually to get his own Sirius light. You might remember that my dad really believes in having plenty of light when you're reading, and he was shocked when I didn't before. So he was inspired to get himself a Sirius light, and what was really sweet was he got my grandmother a Sirius light as well, and he sent me a picture of her when he was visiting at Christmas. I'll pop the picture up here, and that's my grandmother with her Sirius light, and apparently she's been really enjoying it too. That was so lovely to hear. And I'm excited to say that I have an offer code for you. My offer code is SR222, so that's capital S, capital R, 222. I'll put the details in the description box down below as well. But if you use my offer code when you purchase any light within the Sirius light range, then you'll receive a free compact light, which is worth £150, and it makes a really handy small table or desk light. So you'll get that compact light for free. And if you use my offer code, then you're also entitled to free international shipping. So if you need a good reading light, then I so recommend checking out Sirius Readers. And like I said, I'll put all of the details and my offer code in the description box down below. So do check that out. Moving on to another favourite thing of 2022, and that has to be headbands for me. This really seems to have been the year of the headband, but I'm definitely continuing the trend into 2023. I think the main reason that I've been loving wearing headbands is because I've discovered two makes that I really love. One is called Clementine and Mint, and the headband I'm wearing today is by Clementine and Mint. I really love it. It's very soft and it doesn't pinch my head, and I think this is why I've been really loving wearing headbands lately, is that these two makes that I've found make such comfortable ones. So like I said, Clementine and Mint is a real favourite. I have another Clementine and Mint headband too that I just got. The only problem with her headbands is that they sell out so quickly. They're pretty much always all sold out. So in order to get one, you do have to put your email address in to register your interest for a headband. And then you do tend to get an email once they're back in stock. And they do come back in stock, but you can have to wait a little while for that. So I've got one other headband from her. I really love this burgundy velvet one too. And then I found another make that I really love, and it's called Rock and Rose. And I bought this headband just before Christmas. I love that it's braided like that. I think it makes the velvet look so pretty, and it looks very pretty when you're wearing it as well. It gives even that little bit extra height, I think, and I really like that because I don't have a load of volume with my hair, so I find that wearing a headband just helps give me that little bit more sort of height and volume that I don't necessarily get from my hair. But I just really like the look of wearing a headband. So this is also a really comfy one. I think it's very well made and designed and put together, and I love wearing these. I don't tend to style my hair a lot, so I'm a big fan of something that I can just put on top of my head and that makes me feel a bit more put together, makes me look a bit more put together, but I've not had to spend hours with a hairdryer or doing complicated things with curling tongs, which I'm really, really not good at. So I really love my headbands. And then this was a present that I got for my mum in 2022. It was her 60th birthday present from me, and it's a very special jug by Sussex Lustreware. It's done in the traditional pink lustreware style, and it features all three of the Bronte sisters. So there's Emily, and then Charlotte, and Anne as well. And Bronwell, perhaps rather cynically appropriately, is at the bottom of the jug. Like I said, this was a present for my mum, but because we live together, I get to really enjoy it too. And it's my favourite jug that I reach for when I have quite a big bouquet of flowers to display. So we often have this jug full of flowers in the living room, and it makes us both so happy whenever we look at it. So this is really continuing to give us both a lot of joy into 2023 as well. Speaking of flowers, one of my favourite things from 2022 was Smith & Munson. Smith & Munson is a British-based flower company, and they specialise in growing beautiful tulips. I'm getting excited because it's soon tulip season, and I'm going to start ordering from them fairly soon now. They do the most beautiful range of tulips. They come in all sorts of colours and varieties, and I love picking out some blooms from them. This time of year is quite hard for me because normally I do work with a local florist who has a flower farm in Yorkshire, and I order sort of buckets of flowers from her, which is wonderful because I really love supporting British-based floral businesses. So generally I get a lot of flowers from her, but at this time of year, not much is growing, so it's harder to get flowers, and that's why I love to use Smith & Munson. They do grow all of their tulips in the UK, and they have a great delivery service through the post, so you can get your tulips, you can get a regular subscription with them, or you can get one-off purchases. So it was just a brand that I really loved using last year. It really brightened the darkest days of the year for me when I could get some really lovely flowers still. So I wanted to highlight Smith & Munson tulips. They do also do some lilies and maybe a few other flowers, but I've always just bought tulips from them, and I'm going to again this year because they do some really special ones. Then I wanted to share a couple of beauty favourites from the year. So one of them I've mentioned to you before, and that's the Solu Sea Salt Scrub Cleanser. This is for your hair, and it's by Davines, and I rave about this. I really love this cleanser. It's a great scrub. You can use it maybe once a week or so as a kind of shampoo, and it just gives your hair a really deep clean. But if you have slightly fine and wavy hair like I do, then it really helps enhance that natural wave and natural curl to your hair. I know a few of you got this when I first talked about it in a favourite things video quite a ways back in 2022, and some of you messaged me afterwards saying how much you love this scrub as well. So I'm so glad that you've also been enjoying it, and it's just become a beauty staple for me. I really like it, and I always have an especially good hair day whenever I use this, so highly recommend. And then another beauty favourite I haven't mentioned to you before, but I discovered this more towards the end of 2022, and I've been really loving it. I was looking for a good serum, and I tried this double serum by Clarins, and I love it. Both Mum and I have been using it, in fact, and we both really like it. There's also an eye serum, which is great, but if you just had to go for one, then I would really recommend the general double serum. I find it's just really hydrating. It feels lovely going on, and it's a real favourite already. I'm definitely going to be using this a lot in 2023 as well. I'm generally quite a big Clarins fan, but I've used more of their sort of body creams and stuff more than their face things. But this I really love. So I wanted to bring your attention to it as well. Then I also wanted to share my Amara storage unit with you. I'll film some cutaways of this because it's too heavy for me to lug over and show you here because it's full of books. I have a few of these basket storage units and I find them so handy. I've tended to pick them up in the sale. They go to quite a good discounted price on the Amara website. So over the year, I've picked up quite a few of these whenever they have gone on sale, and I really recommend them. Obviously, you don't have to use these storage units for books. You could use them for linens or even for vegetables in the kitchen, or you could use it in the bathroom to store toiletries. But unsurprisingly, I use mine for my overflowing bookshelves, and I find them really handy. I've got a couple in the living room, I've got a couple in the kitchen as well that store cookbooks, and I'm tempted to get another one at some point to go upstairs. But they're very handy, they're easy to put together, and I think they look quite attractive as well. I love the sort of basket design, and it's just been a real favourite purchase from 2022 for me, and a few of you I think have asked me about them when you've seen them in photos, so I thought I'd share where I got them from. My next favourite thing probably won't come as a surprise to you at all because that is the notebooks from Starsmead Bookbinding. As you know, I got my Commonplace book, which is made by Ursula Jenkins of Starsmead Bookbinding, and I love having this. I was so thrilled to be inspired to really keep a Commonplace book in 2023, though I started filling it out in 2022 when I got it. I love the other notebooks that I've had. I've already showcased these adorable notebooks where the covers are taken from the vintage ladybird designs. This is from What to Look For in Winter, but Ursula has also done seasonal ones from all of the books, What to Look For in Spring and Summer and Autumn, as well as Winter. I love those old ladybird books, and I think it's so clever to create these seasonal notebooks that use the beautiful illustrations. So these are unlined, but they're a very handy pocket-sized notebook. What I want to start doing is recording seasonal quotes in them, so I need to get going on this one actually to write in some great winter quotes. And then this is another notebook from Starsmead Bookbinding that shows off a lovely leather finish that she's done, and I think it's just such a pretty pattern on this one too. This is also a blank one, but I have such a weakness for beautiful notebooks, and Starsmead Bookbinding has been a wonderful discovery. So I've been so delighted to find some really beautiful notebooks and to have shared them with many of you as well. And then my final favourite thing before I move on to my top favourite books from 2022 is Tracy Anderson. So in 2022, I really got back into my good workout routine, and the workout that I do is the Tracy Anderson method. I subscribe to her standard membership where I get access to her different range of classes that change weekly. And I love the Tracy Anderson method. It's very much Pilates and dance based, and that's the type of exercise that I enjoy the most. I also really like being able to work out from home because I found even when I lived in London, it was a lot harder to work up the energy and motivation to go out to a gym. And I do much better when I can just work out at home because I do it very soon after waking up in the mornings, and I can just start it straight away and there's no hassle about having to travel anywhere. So I really do enjoy a good at-home workout. But after getting quite a bad neck injury a few years ago, which I've discussed on the channel before, it really took me a long time to be able to get back into exercising again. again and not feeling really nervous about exercising. But last year I really managed it, and I'm just so much better. That injury is really gone now, thank goodness. So it was really my year of getting back into my regular exercise routine, and I was just so happy to be back seeing Tracy every day through her workouts, and it just puts me in a good mood whenever I do one of her workouts. So they are really intense, so they're quite hard. I don't always want to do them, but I feel better once I have done them. So yes, Tracy Anderson was a big part of my 2022. So even though it's something I've been doing for years, I really came back to doing it again in 2022, and I wanted to share it with you as well. So it was very hard to choose only 10 favorite books from 2022, but I was tough with myself and managed to keep the list to just 10. So the first one is India Night's Darling. This is a modern retelling of The Pursuit of Love by Nancy Mitford, which is one of my all-time favorite books. So I was a bit nervous in picking up this modern retelling, but India Night has done such a good job. She's really captured the spirit of the original book and that slightly wry tone of humor. But she's also made a book that's wonderful in its own right as well. You could read this as a standalone, but I very much recommend reading The Pursuit of Love first, because if you've read that, then you just pick up on so many more little in-jokes and references in Darling, and any Mitford fan will really appreciate those. Even though India Night has really stuck to much of the original in terms of the characters and the plot, she's also updated the book to suit some modern themes as well. But she's done that really seamlessly, and it surprised me in some ways how much the plot of The Pursuit of Love could really be adapted to a modern retelling so well. But India Night also brings out issues of motherhood and what it means to be a working mother, as well as race, and she alters some of the characters a little bit as well, but I think she does it very, very cleverly. She makes Uncle Matthew a much more likable character. I think he's my favorite character actually in Darling, and he's very eccentric in The Pursuit of Love, but not so likable, whereas in this he's way more endearing. I just loved him as a character. I think Linda is also more likable, and India Night shows her to be more resourceful in some ways, I think, than she is in The Pursuit of Love, and a very modern heroine. So I really appreciated those aspects to the book and some of the updated themes, but like I said, it still matches so well with the original. If you love the original, then I really think you'd love this book too. And she's just done such a sensitive, clever, brilliant job with this. So I really recommend it. I'm so glad I slipped this in as my almost final read of the year, I think, because it was brilliant. So definitely one of my top 10 favorites. And then I've raved about this book so much, I don't think it will come as a surprise that this is one of my favorites from 2022 as well. This is Appointment with Venus by Gerard Tickle, and it was beautifully republished by Manderley Press. I just loved the Edward Borden design on the cover. The fact that there are cows is very relevant to the story, which is set on a fictionalized Channel Island during World War II, and this island has been occupied by German soldiers. And what the story is really about is this rather eccentric rescue mission that is planned to rescue a Guernsey cow from the island, that's a highly prized cow that is going to be sent back to Germany unless she can be quietly stolen away by the British first. Now, there's a bit more depth to all of this story than you at first maybe realize, but the plot is very clever. and its full force really hits you at the end of the book. But I loved the characters. I love World War II stories. I liked the eccentric element to this that felt so British. There's a lot of heart to this story too. You really end up caring about so many of the characters, and even the less likable characters, many of them are also shown to be more complicated and have more depth. They're not just cardboard cutout sort of villains in this book. And I really enjoyed that about the story too. You'll probably need some tissues at the end, but this is definitely a book that you'll have trouble forgetting. If you love the Guernsey Literary and Potato Pie Society, then I think you have to give this book a go as well. It reminded me just a little bit of that story too, so a real favourite of mine. And then I read a lot of the British Library women writers books in 2022, but my standout read from them was Father by Elizabeth von Arnim, which I chose as the August Comfort Book Club pick. And I loved choosing a couple of Elizabeth von Arnim books. We also did the Enchanted April for the Comfort Book Club, and it really set me off on this path of reading quite a lot of Elizabeth von Arnim in 2022. Many of them I hadn't read before, so I loved getting to explore her work more, and I want to keep reading some of the lesser known ones this year too. But a real standout from last year was reading Father. I loved it. The characters, again, they've really just remained with me through the rest of the year. Jennifer, who is the heroine of this novel, I just love her. She's a youngish woman who, well, when her father remarries, realizes that she's suddenly set free from being his sort of unpaid secretary, and she escapes to the countryside. But there she meets a young vicar, and her life takes some unexpected twists and turns. In the end, her ultimate freedom is threatened by her father, but you have to read the book to find out what happens. This is set in the interwar years, and it does explore the theme of the surplus women who were left in the wake of World War I. So there's a lot of depth to this book, but there's also Elizabeth von Arnim's signature light-hearted wit to it as well. And that's really what made it such a favourite for me. There were some great laugh out loud moments as well as more poignant ones in this story. So a big favourite, and my favourite of the British Library Women Writers series that I read this year. And then of the British Library crime classics, I also read quite a few of those in 2022 as well. But Green for Danger was the standout favourite for me. I raved about this book on my channel, so I won't go into it too much more. But this is by Christiana Brand. And it was the first book of hers that I read, but it definitely made me want to read more of her mysteries. And I did read another one that was brought out again by the British Library, but Green for Danger was still my favourite. If you love a good mystery, then I so recommend picking this one up. It's a real classic golden age crime story, but it's all set in a hospital during World War II. And there's such a good twist to the ending. I couldn't guess who had done it for a long time. My mum couldn't either when she read it after me, and we normally do guess these things pretty quickly, but this one really keeps you wandering and turning the pages. So I think it's very clever, really good mystery, very atmospheric too in that setting in a hospital with like bombs falling everywhere. So yes, very much recommend this one. And then another real favourite of 2022 was this book, The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. And this was a favourite because it did something for me that is just so special when books do this. And it made me realise that I can very much enjoy reading about topics that I think I won't like. So I don't like baseball particularly. I hated maths in school, and this book is very much about both baseball and mathematics. But I absolutely loved reading this story, and it made me able to appreciate what other people can find to love in mathematics, in baseball, in, anything really that isn't my own interest. But I love it when a subject is written about so passionately that even if you don't share in that passion, you can still share in this sense of wonderment and enjoyment. And I think when a book expands your horizons in that way, it's a very, very special book indeed. And that's what this book really did for me in 2022, is it broaden my horizons in that sense. And it's a very slim read. I really recommend picking it up if you haven't. The Housekeeper and the Professor is about a young female housekeeper, and she goes to work for an elderly mathematics professor who has had an accident that has resulted in brain damage where he can't remember anything past the last 80 minutes. But they begin a strange form of communication through mathematics and mathematical equations. And this real bond of friendship forms, and this friendship broadens out to an experience and appreciation for baseball as well. And it's just a very special, poignant little story that I highly recommend picking up if you've never read it before. Another favourite book from 2022 is Maude Martha by Gwendolyn Brooks. This was first published in the States in the 1950s, but it was only just published in the UK in 2022. Faber Books brought out this beautiful edition, and I loved this book. It has really stayed with me since I first read it over the summer. The poetic language was incredible. Gwendolyn Brooks was a Pulitzer-winning poet, and that real lyricism comes through her prose so beautifully. This is a story about a young Black woman living in the States, and it's told through a series of vignettes of her life. You see her grow up and get married, have children, dream of moving away to New York City, but never quite accomplishing that dream. And you get these incredible just little insights into her daily existence. And like I said, the style of writing, the poetic quality to it was what made this a real standout read for me. I think no line is wasted in this book. Each one is just so perfectly made, and it's very memorable for that reason as well. So an absolute standout of the year for me, and one I highly recommend, especially if you enjoy particularly lyrical writing that will stay with you for a long time. And then I have a few non-fiction books to share. So first up is The Carlisles at Home by Thea Home. I'm choosing this book as a favorite from 2022 because reading it added so much more pleasure for me in experiencing a new place. So before I went to London in the summer, I read The Carlisles at Home because I wanted to visit the Carlisles house, which is now part of the National Trust, which is in Chelsea. This was the home of Jane and Thomas Carlyle. He was a great writer and historian, and his wife, Jane Carlyle, has, I think more recently especially, been recognized as a very important figure of influence in his life, and as well as being a writer in her own right. She wrote an amazing amount of letters that make fascinating reading. But this is such a great book about their domestic life living in Chelsea in this house. And I was so glad that I'd read the book before visiting the National Trust property, because it just brought the place so much more to life for me. And I got so much more out of the experience of visiting that place, and also wandering around Chelsea and realizing how different it was when the Carlisles lived there. But this is a great Persephone book, one I really recommend if you've never read it before, and if you're going to be visiting London, visiting Chelsea, and might go to the Carlisles house, then I highly recommend reading this first. I think you'll find it fascinating. I really loved all the domestic details. This really follows Jane Carlisle in particular, because of course she was responsible for running the household. Thomas Carlisle is seen as being quite a difficult and demanding husband, and it was just so interesting to read more about their domestic lives. So a biography that I very much enjoyed. And then this was such a great group biography that was just republished this year, again by Faber. And it's A Sultry Month, Scenes of London Literary Life in 1846 by Alethea Hayter. I read this around the same time as reading the Carlisles at home, and the Carlisles feature in this book too. So that really added to my enjoyment of both books, actually, because this broadens the London of the Carlisles to include other famous literary figures of that time, like Elizabeth Barrett, just before she became Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and other characters from the London literary scene too. I loved this book because it had such an interesting premise for a biography. It takes a particular moment in London's history. It examines a heat wave that occurred over the summer of 1846. And it's very interesting because it shows how the heat, the really intense heat, affected the lives of those living in and just around London at that time. And it interweaves various different stories of famous and less famous historical figures with the heat wave and all that was happening because of that. I just think that's such a clever idea, and I really enjoyed this group biography, so definitely a favourite from the year. And then another biography that I loved reading in 2022 was Lucy Worsley's Agatha Christie, A Very Elusive Woman. I've been really excited about this biography. I love Lucy Worsley's books. I really love her biography of Queen Victoria and Jane Austen, for instance. So I've been very eagerly anticipating this, and it really doesn't disappoint. It's such an easy read. I love Lucy Worsley's slightly chatty tone in her biographies. She really makes everything so accessible to the reader, and I found myself turning the pages so quickly getting through this. Agatha Christie had a fascinating life, and I enjoyed how Lucy Worsley dealt with some of the more mysterious aspects of her life, like the time that she went missing after her husband announced that he wanted a divorce and she turned up in Harrogate. So I thought she dealt with that really sensitively, and I just enjoyed all of the biography so much. If you're an Agatha Christie fan, then I definitely recommend giving this a read. And then my final choice of favourite books from 2022 is this one, Nature Writing for Every Day of the Year, edited by Jane McMorland Hunter and published by Batsford Books. Batsford Books have been bringing out some brilliant anthologies, especially in this last year. Jane McMorland Hunter has edited quite a few of them now, and I love so many of them. But I think the real standout for me in the end was Nature Writing for Every Day of the Year. I have a lot of poetry anthologies already, so much as I adore poetry anthologies, I wanted to choose this anthology which has much more prose, and it's got extracts from non-fiction as well as fiction books, but of course what ties it all together is that they're all beautiful examples of nature writing. And I definitely want to keep this on my bedside table this year too. I think especially now I've started a commonplace book and I'm noting down lovely quotes, I think that this will make a great reference for me. I'm sure I'll be finding lots of quotes from here that I want to write into my commonplace book. And if you're not so keen on poetry, but you would like a lovely bedside anthology to enjoy each day, then I would really recommend this one, because like I said, this is really an anthology of prose over poetry. So I highly recommend it. But all of the Batsford anthologies have been wonderful. There are lots of poetry ones that I love too, but I think this one was my standout from 2022. Anyway, those are all of my favourite things and books from 2022. I hope you enjoyed this little roundup from me. Do let me know, was there one favourite thing, favourite purchase, one favourite book from 2022? I'd absolutely love to hear your favourites. But thank you so much for watching this video. Extra big thanks to everyone who's pressed the super thanks button on my last video and all of your lovely comments on that video too. It was really so wonderful for me to read them. So thank you so much. And I hope that you're having a wonderful weekend. I'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.